Hi, my name is Dr. Jamie Klingman. I am a business broker based out of Tampa, Florida, but licensed in several states. I think what makes me a different kind of broker is I became a broker because I sold my own company and realized how few brokers really understood the under $10 million business space.
Sam Martinez here. I'm a advisor and also a business broker. And I became a business broker almost by accident, and I blame that on Jamie Klingman. But I sold my company, an insurance brokerage, some years ago, and I realized how difficult that process can be, as well as I've seen so many and work with so many clients who have sold their companies successfully and unsuccessfully. And so, what the Exit Strategy Company brings to the table, and what I bring to the table as well as experience of going through the process myself, as well as having a financial background to help with all those instances of selling a business. Looking forward to working with you. Mrs. Klingman,
Mr. Martinez.
let's talk about why we should sell our business.
Yes.
That seems so absolutely elementary. But I think the starting with why should we even sell? Why should we consider it? And are we even thinking about selling? And I know that your story is different than my story when as founders of our own businesses before we sold. But I did not start my business to one day sell it. I just wanted to kind of do my business on my own terms and actually build something for myself. And you challenged me on that, on actually selling it, and I did. But what was your reason for starting your business and selling?
So my reason for selling was kind of similar to yours, only except for I really didn't like my business. So I started my business. It kind of fell into my lap. I was not trained in business. I was an academic. Um, the opportunity just sort of presented itself. I took it. Thankfully, it worked out, but it was not a good fit to me, like for the rest of my life. And I remember thinking 5 or 6 years in that, and so I was in my mid to late 20s, that I was trapped doing this forever. Like what did I just write a check that I have to do this for the next 30 years? Because that's what everyone I knew did was if they had businesses, they had them until they retired. I knew no one that had sold their business. Now, this was many years ago, and now obviously selling your business is much more of a topic, and there's the great internet and online and YouTube and influencers and things like that talking about it, but there wasn't all of that then, particularly with smaller businesses, under 5 million. We read about the big acquisitions and those types of things, but not the average everyday person. My fellow chamber members were not selling their businesses. And so I started the sales process because I just wanted out. And I went to my attorney not to sell, just to be like, how do I, is there a way out of this? Like,
Yeah,
how
you
do I,
just wanted to like wind it down responsibly and get out.
yes, I wanted to figure out how to responsibly, not hurt my clients, not hurt my caregivers, but sell, um, and or not sell, like just get out. I couldn't imagine selling. I didn't understand why anyone would want to buy a business in the home care space, which is laughable now, as we've sold several. But there's at the time that was it was novel to me, and confusing why somebody would want that. But what I realized was that somebody who wasn't sitting in my shoes, who hadn't spent the last 10 years building it and going through all the headaches and those things would be coming in with fresh energy and fresh ideas, and um, not be quite so, I'll use the word scarred for that's a tough industry.
Yeah.
um, and so then went through the process of selling and realized that there wasn't a lot of good information out there about selling. That now, again, today I think a lot of people build businesses with the intent of selling,
Yeah.
but that is not how or why I started my business. And I know that wasn't yours either. I mean, it was, I,
No, it's funny you should mention that because yeah, when I started, I was in a larger company doing brokerage and that kind of thing, insurance brokerage, because that's what I sold was my insurance brokerage. And I just fundamentally and philosophically just didn't align very well with how they ran it. And decided, okay, I've been doing this long enough. Let me branch off on my own. So it was more about the freedom of being able to run things the way I thought better to run things. Not so much, okay, let me make this a retirement tool for the future or something like that. So I'm with you on that. It was less in the news than it is now. But what's interesting to me is that there are still so many people, even with all of the social media, even with all the hype. I mean, really, small businesses have become the fix and flips of real estate of the 2090s and 2000s. Now it's fix and flip a business. And
Yeah,
so, I mean, we can talk about, I think that's another topic because it is not that easy. And I think a lot of people are seeing that. And so is SBA. There's so many defaults now because people have bought businesses and they're way over in over their heads when it comes to operations and that kind of thing. But when it comes to selling a business, there are a lot of very good businesses out there, consistent businesses, and people who are thinking the same thing. I'm kind of stuck here. What can I do? Can this even be a retirement thing? I know you told me a story of somebody who came up to you and said, well, that sounds cool, but everything's under contracts. There's no way I can sell this. I'm just going to close it down one day.
absolutely. That happened at an event I was speaking at, and I was stunned and went, wait, well, wait a second. You can keep contracts, and there's a way to sell to do that. And I think that's one of the big takeaways and thinking about selling your company is that there will probably be things business owners need to do to get it into position to sell. So thinking about it ahead only behooves the seller and having some control over how those things work. But it is very doable. That's I think a lot of times the things that sellers or business owners think are really hard to solve are the easier things, and the things that they weren't even thinking about are the ones that it's gonna take more time. So, like
Yeah.
for example, in my instance, I was really the heart of my business, and so I had to take 2 years and remove myself from being the face and those things because the amount of goodwill that was attached to me would have gone away when I sold. And so reasonably a buyer, would be uncomfortable with that. And so it's those types of things. And it's really hard to see that when you're the seller and you're the business
Mhm.
owner. It really takes somebody, I think, standing outside of you to say, okay, these are the things that I see would be difficult with, transferability.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's even true when it comes to future opportunities, is to actually somebody say, hey, you might be frustrated with your business, but somebody else, here's some places where they're going to want to jump in where you have not progressed and they have, like you said, new blood, like new fire to actually take that to the next level. Another thing is like even corporate structure and even how they're organized because yeah, in your current form, there's not much to sell. But if we organize this differently, if we also bring in standard operating procedures and a couple of systems in, now it's transferable. And so I think there are a lot of businesses out there that are closer to be able to sell than they think they may be. Conversely, there's some who think they're worth a lot that are worth very little because there's not much to transfer, especially for what you just said, especially small businesses that depend too much on the business owner themselves, the founder themselves. So, I mean, I would say best advice is, hey, have a conversation early, have a conversation now, and have it continuously. Have check-ins with people. I will put a shameless plug like us who've done it before, who
Yes.
can actually point a couple things out and who will be honest and say, hey, you're not ready yet. But hey, do X, Y, and Z, and let's talk in a year or two.
Yes, absolutely. I hope that it's easier for sellers and business owners. It would have been for me for sure, to have people like you and I sitting across the table from them who have been there. And so we understand when it feels like you're calling our child ugly, right? Like your business is your child and tearing it apart feels really awful. And so that's just part of the process, but it is something that I think brokers that have come from just a strictly academic side it's difficult to understand the nuances there. But I will say getting past that is possible and crucial because the other side of that can be really great, and it can be really, really great for the buyer. Your legacy is going to stay on and grow, and the work you did had purpose and all those things.
Uh, Agreed.
All right.